Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about the project for Computer Science 215. So the project is first assigned in week 11, where we're going to discuss what the project is about, how are you going to brainstorm an idea for your project, how are you going to write up your project proposal, and then implementing and turning in and presenting your final project. Now in week 12, the proposal for your project is due. And then the actual presentation of your project and due date for all of your code and your documentation related to your project is due in week 15. That is right before finals week, the last week of the class. So let's take a look at the details of the project. So the project is worth 100 points, which is worth 10% of your grade. The learner objectives for this assignment include writing a project or proposal, defining some data science questions on your own, and of course answering those data science questions, selecting, defining, and cleaning an appropriate data set, implementing algorithms and data structures to support answering those data science questions that you defined, and creating, updating, and maintaining a GitHub repository. So overview and requirements. For the final project in Computer Science 215, you're going to implement your own data analytics system in pairs. As long as you conform to the requirements specified in this document, you will have the freedom to define the project topic, dataset, and the analysis performed. So the overview of the project timeline is as follows. Let's go through each one of these topics in more detail. So first, you're going to meet with your partner and brainstorm a project. To do this, I recommend identifying several topics that interest the both of you. For example, analytics applies to sports, politics, news, education, and I have etc. here because I think you know that we can apply data analytics to anything where we can collect data. So once you've identified some commonalities that you have between you two about what interests you, you want to brainstorm some data related to those topics that could be collected or may already exist. So for example, if a topic you're both interested in is fitness, you could collect your own Fitbit data set to analyze. There are also several data sets related to fitness publicly available online. Another example is if you are interested in climate change, you may search the internet to find publicly available data sets, web services you could query, or sites you can ethically scrape. And I have a link here to data.gov, which is a great place to start looking for open access data sets. I'll also list a few more in the end of this section. Now, once you've identified your topic and the data set that you want to work with, you want to think about what are some important problems or important questions to answer related to this data set. For example, the Google Maps API graph mining case study we looked at in L14-1 solved several important problems related to travel, commuting, and routing with Dijkstra's shortest path algorithm, and then also visualizing the shortest path, perhaps for embedding in a web page or in a larger system. So I've listed a few project ideas here to help your brainstorming process so you can get an idea of what I'm looking for in your project. I do not want you to use any of these projects here. I want you to come up with your own, but at least you can get a sense for a topic or a data science context or a machine learning algorithm that you could use. So I'll just list out the first one here. Mining current tweeting trends and contents using the Twitter API. There's a great Python library called Twython that you could use. There's a lot of starter code, example code out there using Twython, including Joel Gruse's Data Science from Scratch book. There's some Twython code included in there. And wrapping this all in a natural language processing context, we covered a unigram language model in one of our programming assignments. Perhaps you could investigate an n-gram language model like a bigram language model to incorporate context when looking at Twitter trends and content and perhaps making predictions about future Twitter trends and content. Here's a list of data sites in addition to data.gov to check out when you're looking for open access data sets. This last one here, WC Costa Smart Home Data Sets. This is actually collected by researchers here in our department at WSU. This is Diane Cook's research lab. UC Irvine Machine Learning Repository is one of the most popular machine learning repositories. I recommend checking it out. The Corgis collection, I haven't had a chance to work with this, but I saw a presentation about it, and it's supposed to include several data sets that are already cleaned and munged and ready for students to work with. So you might want to check this out, but make sure there is some kind of data wrangling or data cleaning or data munging context for your project if you're going to use a data set from Corgis. Here are a few sites that list available APIs, both authenticated and unauthenticated. You can definitely check these out to try and see if there's something you're interested in. For example, Fitbit has an API that you can use. It's authenticated, but it's very simple to get authentication if you state that you are in academia, you're a student, and you're doing this for a project. So I think a Fitbit or related project idea would be a great one for this assignment. Next, you're going to formally write up your proposed project. Here are the stipulations. It should be single-spaced, at least 1 page long, and emailed to me by the deadline specified in the course schedule. The content to be included in the proposal is listed here. Please read through this. Let me know if you have any questions. And this last part we'll talk about more. Available days and times during dead week your team is available to present. We'll talk about this more. Once your proposal is approved by your instructor, the next step is, of course, to implement the project. You're going to implement your project on your own machine in Python, working with your partner, and you're going to sync up your changes from your local machines using GitHub. And I've made a project assignment on the Computer Science 215 GitHub Classroom site. Here's the link. Go ahead and open this up to create your repository and get started working on it. Now, the name of your repository, the project name you stated in your project proposal. This will be the top level name for your file hierarchy that is going to be listed down here. Now, your implementation should include at least one data structure or variation of that we covered in Computer Science 215. So the big ones we covered include hash tables, trees. In detail, we looked at binary search trees and self-balancing trees, AVL trees, heaps, our implementation for a priority queue, and also graphs. And you must implement this data structure yourself. However tempting it may be to, for example, use the NetworkX graph, I want you to use your own graph data structure, should you choose to use a graph. Now, your repository on GitHub should be organized in the following manner. I'm not going to go through this, but please read through this and make sure that your directory structure from the beginning adheres to each one of these requirements. So once you're all done, you implement your project, your source code is finalized, your documentation is finalized, it's all uploaded and well organized in your GitHub repository, then the next step is going to be to present the project. You're going to present the project with your team member during dead week. Your presentation should be about 15 minutes in length and should include the major topics of your proposal, show us some of the key components of the code, maybe something that you're especially proud of, or something that was extremely challenging that you were able to overcome. And of course, give us a demo of your project so we can see your visualizations and any other applications that you may make related to your project. There will be time after your 15-minute presentation for Q&A. The Q&A will come from the instructor and at least 3 students who will be in attendance of the presentation. So you as a student will need to present your project, but you'll also need to be a peer reviewer for other students' project presentations. Your team will be assigned 1 half-hour time slot to present. The available time slots are listed below. In your project proposal, state all available time slots your team can present during dead week. And I will populate this list as I start to see which teams are presenting and at what time and who can peer review those times. For peer reviewing, you will need to use a rubric that I have designed. You can check it out at this link here, and you will email all of your peer reviewing score sheets to your instructor after you have peer reviewed somebody's presentation. The bonus for 10 points, which is definitely worth it, I encourage you to do it, is to make a 2 to 4 minute quality video that showcases your project. Here's some information to include in your video. Make sure that both team members are speaking during the video, not just one person. And you could include slides in your video. I would recommend keeping slides to a minimum, perhaps maybe make a diagram or 1 or 2 or 10. That's up to you, but definitely don't just show a slide deck. I want to see some demo, some human screen time, so I want to see each one of your team members in the video, and you can also show some code and perhaps some interaction with the data as well. You won't be turning this code in via Blackboard. Instead, you'll just be working in your GitHub Classroom project repository, which I will be able to see, your instructor will be able to see. And of course, make sure that this repository includes all related files in a form that adheres to the Computer Science 215 programming standard. And it's also very readable, free of typos and free of errors. And here are the grading guidelines here. Be sure to read through these thoroughly so you know where the grades, where the points are going to be assigned for your grade for the project. I will note that 11 points are allocated for your project proposal and 9 points, 3 points each for peer reviewing other teams' project presentations, and 15 points of the total 100 points is allocated for your team's presentation. So you have a lot of freedom with this project, like I said earlier. Just make sure that you really think through your project, write it up in a clean manner and concise manner when you propose it to the instructor. And once you get that project proposal accepted, then really have fun with it. Of course, make sure you adhere to all of the requirements specified in this document, but really this is your chance to build your own data analytics system and put into action the skills you have learned so far, not just in this class, but also good software engineering practices, good testing practices that you have learned in your previous computer science classes. Do not wait to get started with a project. It will take time. I give you a few weeks to work on it because I do want you to take the entire time allocated to produce something that is very high quality and very complete.